Hey everybody, welcome to the Couples Cast by CK. I'm your host Conrad. Sitting next to me, the ever Miss Lovely Kelly.
Hey guys.
Across from me, Tim, the producer. Back in studio today, we have Stacy from episode 1. I think it's our most downloaded episode too, and most viewed. So, most popular guest is back. Congratulations,
Yay.
You just won that title.
Winner, winner.
So yeah, we should have a guest of the year. So you'll be in the running for that.
For sure.
Yeah, okay.
So, I'd like to give a shout out to Rhino Rush real quick. If you guys are in the mood for some energy or if you want to relax, you can try one of their energy shots. Or if you want to relax, they have a great tasting relax shot. It's good right before bed. Perhaps you're a reader. I don't know you. But check it out and try it. All right. In studio, Stacy, tell us what we're going to be talking about today, because I heard a little bit about it, and it's about toxic relationships.
Yeah, this is a topic that I'm very passionate about, mainly because I'm a woman. I do some focus groups at the City of Lights and the Women's and Children's Alliance, and it's a women's shelter.
Okay.
And so I've been doing those groups for them for the last 5 weeks.
And so to those groups, you're obviously working with people that have had problems with domestic violence or something like that. So could you tell us a little bit about what's out there if someone's going through that situation?
Absolutely, yeah. Like the resources?
Exactly, yep.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different resources out there for people who feel like they don't have any place to go. And if you're a woman and have children, it's a little bit easier to find those resources. So the Women's and Children's Alliance is one, and then City Lights Home for Women is the other. And they have them in Boise and in Nampa.
Very cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think is most common, or what are the different levels you would say of a toxic relationship?
Oh my gosh, there's so many different levels. From what I see within this group are the ones that are at the highest
Level?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's where there's actual abuse, mental and physical abuse. And then that's kind of, there's no place to go. It's rock bottom. And so they leave, and they need a place to stay.
And so in your opinion, is this something that's kind of generational? It's passed down?
Mm-hmm. I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so.
I think it's been pretty common in, no better way to say it, in the people that get arrested for molesting or whatever like that. There's a high probability that they were assaulted when they were a minor or whatever.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it all stems from somewhere. Yeah, and I think when these women come into these shelters, they have to do like a little intake, and a lot of them, they'll ask questions like history of abuse, like in family members or in past other members of family. And so a lot of them, it is generational. I mean, if you think about it, like you're learning from your life. So if your father was awful to your mom and abusive, I mean, that's what you know. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like what's normal to them.
Yeah, living in that chaos.
Mm-hmm. And then you think about it. I mean, you need to break the cycle somewhere, because then your kids are going to watch it and then think that that's okay, especially if you're a woman. Women learn differently than men.
Well, and, pop culture tends to kind of navigate how we are. Mm-hmm. And, what was it in the 50s or 60s? Movie stars were slapping women in movies.
Oh, yeah.
Like on the big screen. Mm-hmm. And so the progress that's been made in the last, I think that'd be 60 or 70 years. But it's funny how that's, that used to be okay. Mm-hmm. That's strange.
Yeah, and it's still okay in some cultures.
Cultures, yeah.
Yeah, it is. I have 2 boys at home, so I'm very, very, very careful on how I talk to them about things. I think I overly, make sure that they're respectful to women, that, I teach them never hit a woman, never disrespect a woman. I think I'm a little bit overcompensate, I guess, for the...
Can I ask you how you came to be asked to talk to these
Yeah.
focus groups.
Mhm.
How
Yep.
did that come about?
So when I was at NNU doing my internship, I did I got a cycle of counseling at the Women's and Children's Alliance. And so when these women are in these kind of homes, they have to sign a contract. They're not going to drink, they're not going to do drugs, and then they're going to have so many hours of therapy or life-changing skills. And so I would teach that at the time during my internship. And then a few months ago, I was approached and asked if I wanted to continue doing that. So I do it, it's nonprofit, so I do it for free. But all the classes are full.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like that's, for right now, you're a single mom,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And for you to be approached about something like that, given the fact that you have you've been through so much, but
Yeah.
you've also I guess you're not the typical single mom. You know, you don't have, and that maybe sounds unfair.
No,
Not
I
that there's a
understand.
typical mom, but
Yeah. Mhm.
you're very successful.
Mhm.
You know, you have a great head on your shoulders. You have a great job,
Yeah.
great career, all these things. But for you to be approached and teach these women who maybe are looking up to you,
Mhm.
I feel like that probably is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I
And
felt very honored. I thought it was a pretty big deal too. So,
I think
yeah.
so too. And nonprofits are near and dear to our hearts, and
Mhm.
I think that's
Indeed.
amazing that you're, donating your time. That
Mhm.
is so precious. But also, kudos to you for being
Thank you.
asked to do that.
Thank you.
And that you took that challenge on.
Yeah, and I again, I think I'm passionate about it because my biological father was abusive to my mom, so there was a lot of toxicity in that too. And then my sister and I are so different because we won't tolerate any of that. I mean, there's two ways you can go. You could follow it, or you can absolutely be opposite of it. And we were lucky enough to be opposite of it
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason.
Yeah. Well, and your mom's a strong woman,
Mhm.
but she raised two very strong women.
Yeah.
You girls
we-
are.
yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to be the man trying to push you around.
Well, I got a tough sister, so that's kind of like backs me up.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, we're getting sidetracked, but
Yeah.
what else do you want to talk to us about? What can you bring some light on the table if
Mhm.
our listeners are out there and they're in a toxic relationship
Mhm.
and maybe they don't know it, or
Yeah.
what can we do to shed
Being
some
in-
light on that?
Being in a toxic relationship is hard because I don't think you understand you're actually in something that's toxic unless you step out of it and you're able to see it as a whole. Because when you're in it, you don't know. You just think you're doing something wrong, or the person loves you and they're just in a bad mood. I mean, there's all these reasons. But so when I do a focus group, when it's the first couple sessions, I ask two questions. I'll say what happened or what went bad with the relationship, and what do you think went bad with it? And there's always two different answers.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? So, for instance, I asked one lady and I said, okay, what happened in this relationship? And she said, I made him mad and he used to hit me because I wouldn't do what I was told. And then I said, okay, well, what do you think happened? And she said, I think that he was just drunk. I think he was having an affair, and I don't think he was happy. Those are two totally different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But she just saw the opposite side. She was afraid to voice her opinion. And I guess my whole purpose for doing this is I want women to not be afraid and not have insecurities, and I want them to reach their potential because women can be so powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you're working with these women, what would you say the percentage of them are? You kind of mentioned about the drug testing and stuff like that. How many of them are actually that you're having to teach these life skills, or tied up into the judicial system in a sense, or been to jail or something like that? Because I think there's a kind of what you're doing with the life skills thing is a bigger problem in our society of getting these people the right forms of education.
Education, yeah.
And I think our
Yeah.
judicial system lacks that.
No, they don't. I mean, you're in trouble, you do the time or you do the punishment, and then you're on your own again. So there's not any education, you're right. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of women who have, I don't want to say criminal history, but like, I guess
They're from maybe a colorful background, and I think
colorful background,
the way
yes.
you could relate it to is they've probably in their family history, family tree had, aunts and uncles or whatever getting in trouble, or just
Yeah.
a little bit of a decorated
Right. They don't think that, and I think a lot of these women, it's just norm. It's the norm to be in trouble. Like me, I am so afraid to ever be in trouble with anything. I am. Like, I could never handle jail. I mean, I'm not. But these women, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's, it's just a way of life for them. So it's sad.
Yeah, that is. Gosh, and the educational process too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, out of the percentage of the women you're working with, how many do you think actually kind of recover from getting into toxic relationships? How many of them just continue the cycle? Mm-hmm. Is it kind of one of them things like in any other form of recovery? Until they're not ready, they're not ready.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. And emotional, I guess, abuse or toxicity is so much different than it's all addiction. Mm-hmm. It's all addiction. It's addiction to love and attention and all that. But the emotional part is so much harder than the physical part. So
right.
It's harder, I think, to walk away from a relationship that's toxic than it is to stop drinking. Like from research, what I've read, I don't know that personally, but from what I've read, it's a little bit harder just because of the mental aspect of it. But I've been there for 4 to 5 weeks, and I've had, I think, 2 people come back, with the same cycle.
Okay. Dang, in that short of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it's important for us to talk about that this is everyone, though. Mm-hmm. This isn't just people who are in shelters or people who come from drug addiction or in and out of trouble, because personally I've been in those situations and I've been in super unhealthy relationships, and I remember a time where I was being pushed around, like physically pushed around, and being told you're lucky I don't throw you through the effing window. Mm-hmm. And then in the morning he'd run me a bubble bath because I love baths, and he'd say, honey, you know what, I got everything to get today. You're gonna soak in the bath. I know how much you love the bath, and you deserve to just relax. And because he had torn me down so much, and the negative was so high, that when he did those things, I had him on a pedestal.
Sure. How confusing is that?
I was like, oh my gosh, he wants to run me a bubble bath, and it's,
look at all these nice things he's doing for me.
Exactly. And all the nice things that he was doing stood out so much more to me because he never did those things. Right. And so I think it's important for us to talk about that. It's not just, it's everybody who could be in a toxic relationship. It's not just because you've had a hard life or you're dating someone that's been through, the judicial situation.
Sure.
Thank
you for saying that. You're right. And I was also in one, and I'm a counselor. You think I would know better, from the education part of it, but you don't.
It doesn't really know boundaries. Like it's just something that anybody could fall into, and it's really hard. I think it's hard for our family and friends. Right. I know that in that certain relationship, I had no support in dating this person. My family and I suffered, my friends and I suffered, but to me, when he did those little things, it was enough to keep me going. And it's sickening when I look back.
Because you're out of it, so you can look back as a whole.
Yes.
And now you know.
Yeah.
It's a lesson. It's almost a lesson,
It is definitely a lesson. Yeah. And I think that it's important for us to know, and almost to a fault now, I just don't take crap.
Right.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
No, that's what I'm saying. You learn. It's a lesson.
I'm such a good boy all the time. I don't know.
I'm just
I'm such a good boy.
No, and you hit those red flags, and you're more aware, and you trust your gut more, and it changes you. It really does. Once you can understand what it is that you deserve, and it changes you. And I think that's my hope is to help these women find that inside of them, or just the power that they have, or
finding their worth, or their voice, or something in them that knows that they are worthy of respect.
Yes.
And it goes the same for men.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
I think that.
It does.
It does, Tim. You are worthy of respect.
Am I?
You are,
Really,
you are
though?
loved. You are loved.
First time I
You
think
are
I've been
loved
told
and
that.
valued, Tim.
Thank you.
That made me want to bust out in song.
Do it. I want to hear.
Sometimes we sing in the studio.
You
Go
know.
for it.
Okay.
So the
Alright.
men folk too.
The menfolk too. I think anybody can be subject to this,
Oh, yeah. Yep.
and it only takes somebody who is maybe like a little bit stronger personality, or somebody who's been abused that wants to repeat that cycle, or I don't know. Sometimes I think it comes from jealousy. It comes from all sorts of things, and
I think insecurity
Mhm.
is what will ruin this world. Honestly, it ruins relationships, it ruins friendships, it ruins everything.
yeah.
Yeah, I've kind of got a
It's-
philosophy on that when you start in relationships now, like the foundation. Like what causes little cracks in the foundation?
Absolutely.
The going out at night and like, oh, I lost my phone, had too much to drink, that shit, that don't fly.
Yeah.
Like just little stuff like that.
Oh,
and I
little
think
red
if you
flags,
start
yeah.
putting resentments in the relationship early, and then it can get toxic.
Absolutely.
And then
yes.
communication, I think.
Yeah,
It's hard to
that's-
learn how to talk to people, even as an adult.
It is
You know?
hard. No, it is hard. But I mean, if you have that ability to even want to try, then that will
Yeah.
make the biggest difference ever. And a lot of it is trust. You have to trust the person. And when you trust somebody, shit is so much easier. You can
Yeah.
do anything when you feel safe and you trust.
Yeah, once you burn that trust tree.
Yeah.
There's no going back.
Yeah.
There isn't.
No.
Any-
So how do you, if you're moving on to another relationship, how do you think you kind of wipe that slate clean?
Yeah.
Even though you might be bringing that forward from another relationship, that you couldn't trust that person, but now you have this new person that hasn't done anything wrong.
It's probably
Dresses
really
great.
wonderful. Yeah, yeah.
Handsome.
Has really cool hair.
No, I'm just kidding.
Everything's about Conrad.
That has his own podcast. Yeah. So
Some sailor I met at TGI Fridays who never did call me back and left me with a little bump.
I think once you have been in a toxic relationship, you're always going to carry that with you. And so what you need to learn is how to carry it smart, right? It's like if you're traveling with a big, huge, heavy backpack, you can, there's ways to do it where it's more comfortable, and then there's like sloppy, easy ways to do it. So it's kind of like that. That's why it's really important, and I try to tell the girls too, before you get into another relationship, make sure that you're healed and you're healthy, because that will just make everything so much easier. If you go into another relationship with resentment, with lack of trust, with the baggage, it probably won't work.
If you're carrying homeboys' faults into your next relationship, there's a good possibility. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
And vice versa.
Yeah, and vice versa. And so I think that's why a lot of people, the rebound things hardly ever work, because sometimes they do. I mean, I'm not saying that, but most of the times they don't, because you're not healed from the trauma and the damage that you had just gotten the relationship before.
Yeah.
Do you think that's also because when you're trying to move on, you're also looking for the certain qualities that you were attracted to in the previous relationship
Possibly,
that
yeah.
could unfortunately be a little more detrimental?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why it's important to know what you want and what you don't want. And then you learn what you don't want when you're in a negative situation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like maybe you don't know what you want. I know for me, I still don't know what I want, but I absolutely fucking know what I do not want.
Right.
And I can say that like with all certainty.
Yeah, I've got a few
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah. And if I date someone or I talk to someone that I might be interested or anything, and then those things creep up, I don't even think twice about it anymore. I'm like, peace out. I don't, nah.
Those red flags you don't ignore anymore.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. Do you guys want to talk about some of the red flags that are
Yes.
pretty common in a relationship?
Yes, please.
And then if you disagree with me, just say, or if you have any input or insight. But my last relationship, it was kind of funny because one of the things that bothered him was that I had a lot of friends. And that really bothered him because he had zero. Maybe he had one and he had his kids, but zero friends. And so this last relationship, he pretty much chose another woman over me, which is fine, and that's okay. But one of the things that he told me that's always going to stick with me, he's like, one of the things I really like about her is just she doesn't have any friends, just like I don't. And I'm just like, so not having friends is a red flag, don't you think?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you can't form bonds and friendships, then how are you going to form a relationship? Like, how are you going to have a healthy anything if you don't have healthy friendships? And
Now, do you think, I'm just playing devil's
please do,
advocate
yeah.
here, there could be two people that maybe are kind of loners that find each other, and that works?
I guess so. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there could be.
Maybe a sideways pitch there.
No, I think, but for me, as myself, like being in a toxic relationship, I would always try to change myself just to try to fit into this mold of what he wanted. And so I wouldn't hang out with my friends. I wouldn't do all these things, but that's not who I was, because my friendships are very important to me.
Yeah.
So I think one red flag, and maybe I'm wrong because of that comment that you said, and you're absolutely right, but no close friendships, I think, is a red flag.
Yeah, I think it would be.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that not if you have those close relationships and certain things that you do with your friends, it's important to keep those, as long as it's not something that's disrespectful to your relationship.
Right.
So I think that would be hard for somebody like you and I. We're very similar. We actually have a similar friend circle, but to not have that time with our friends or sisters who are really important to us, that would be, that's not going to fly in the long term. You could give it up for a little bit for a man or a relationship, but in the end,
Is that what's going to make you happy?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to be the end all tell all.
Sure.
So I think that's important, and it's a big red flag.
I think it's a big red flag. So I'm like, who doesn't have friends?
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, and I do think that it's different in the aspect of, I have a lot of friends who only have very minimal friends, and I'm one of them, and I'm thankful for that.
Quality
over quantity.
And I
exactly.
always say that too. Yes.
And I have a huge circle of people that I care about and I love very dearly, but very few people that I see day to day and are in my daily life that I just honestly couldn't imagine my daily life without. So that's, I think, what you're saying. It's not just this huge circle of people.
Right.
And
it's just somebody that you can depend on and count on, and not to have somebody. I don't know. I just thought it was odd. So
and him saying that is odd.
And I think that's another control thing too. And why I think that's red flag is I think it's a control thing. Like, I don't have friends. I'm not comfortable with you having all your friends.
Right.
And a lot of my guy friends, like my two best friends, well, my two really close best friends, they're guys. And he was uncomfortable with that as well. So
that is,
I think it's just,
definitely hard. I think it's also it's different. I think for girls to have super close guy friends, and guys to have close girlfriends. I think there's a double standard there that might not be very fair. But for us, I think that when you actually have a really good guy friend, you don't see him as anything else.
You absolutely do not.
That's just a friend, almost a brother type relationship. And for guys, I feel like
Me and Tim are both like,
I'm like, that dude wants to fuck you. That's literally what it is.
And that's fine.
What's the difference between a dude? I'm not trying to be argumentative.
No,
What I'm
no,
saying is,
no.
what's the difference between a dude who has a good friend who's a girl versus that girl who has a good friend that's that dude, right?
Okay, the
double
difference
standard.
is that we don't picture having sex with this guy.
So they can want to
And
do
the
that all
guy-
day long, but
The guy typically doesn't want to have a great best friend without those thoughts, but we can separate those and very 100%
with
matter of fact.
I
we
friend
can
zone
separate
lots
that.
of chicks. That's not an issue. I just think there definitely, for sure, there's a double standard. Because if I
Okay,
were to
so-
mention, like, I have a good friend, and my ex-girlfriend was not happy that I had a friend that was a girl, but then it was supposed to be okay for me to hang out with her and a group of her friends with a guy she had slept with and been with and dated. But I was supposed to be okay with us hanging out with the dude that she had slept with and been with, but it wasn't okay for me to have just a friend that was a girl at all. Does that make sense? So I couldn't have friends that were girls, but she could hang out with dudes that she fucked.
Girls
Does that
play
make
that.
sense?
Girls play that card fast and loose too, because a lot of times
They do.
They
lose
they
fast.
pull that good friend card. Oh, but we dated years ago.
but what if you
like-
don't date? What if you haven't slept with them? What if they're really truly your best?
I just think the
friend?
difference is if you put that man and that woman in a room naked, that guy would do it. that would be his intention.
She probably would too,
and the girl
man.
wouldn't,
Let's be real. She
but
probably would.
No.
maybe it's just a real friend thing, but and if the roles reversed, it doesn't work like that. But that's how that's why when girls play that card, a lot of times guys are like, oh, because they've seen it.
And I've heard that so many times from other people, from my family. I get that, but maybe
and there's
Kelly
certain
and I
attention from men that you shouldn't receive.
Yeah.
And as long as you can delegate that, I think it's good.
Yeah.
But if you're going into that gray area, it's the same thing for a dude. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I totally
I have
agree with that, yeah.
really, really good friends that I have been really good friends with, men, for so long, who could, tell me they know more about me than maybe some of my girlfriends.
Yeah.
And I've never crossed that line. We've never had sex. I've had plenty of options or opportunities to do that, and I didn't choose that. So I think that maybe...
But see, you just said it there. It went to the point where they tried to take an opportunity, right?
It's
or
not
they took
that...
a pass.
No. I just said I've had those opportunities. I've been alone. I've
slept with them in the same bed overnight.
Sometimes, I've been in the same room alone, or stayed the night. But in those situations where nothing happened, and I think that for that's been a big thing for me. I guess
But there's a difference too. You probably weren't in a relationship at the time. You're staying in the same building or room or whatever. So.
Typically not, but I have been.
And
I've been dating
someone.
someone. I have been dating someone where they were like, "I'm not comfortable with your friend so and so," and I understand that. But on my side, it's honestly just a friendship, and I wouldn't do that or cross that line. But yeah, I think it's been in relationships or not in relationships. It's a double standard, because I feel like every guy thinks that guys only want one thing from you.
They do. Yeah, they do think that.
And then the girls
guys
think...
know that.
Yeah,
they don't think it. Yeah,
okay.
it's primal.
And
primal.
maybe we're just ignorant to it or naive to it, but
no, it's for real. Like, they might not want to try to bang you all the time, but in the back of their head, if you gave them the opportunity, the dude's gonna fuck you straight up. It's primal. It's eat, sleep, fucking fight. And guess what? That's what we do, because we're men and we have to survive. And that's just like that. When you break it down, men are going to do what they do. And it's whether or not you can recognize it.
So then, to answer your question about
it.
you having a friend that you just answered it for all of our listeners.
If she wanted to fuck me, I would fuck her.
Okay.
Totally. But guess what? We've already had the mutual understanding that this isn't a sexual relationship, and I'm old enough and mature enough to recognize that, because there's tons of chicks that I could have sex with. It's not this one person in my life. There's so many other people, and I'm not. For me, it's like that's not on the top of my head. I'm not worried about having sex. That's not my issue. But it's just the double standard, right?
But it is the double standard. But just to answer your question earlier about how come girls can't have guys around, and you literally just explained it for us all. You just put the words in every man's mouth,
right,
that you can't have a girlfriend because every man is going to take advantage of that, whereas the girls on our side can stop that because we don't have those feelings. And you just said, yes, every man is going to have those
not
feelings
every girl
just because
does.
they're a man.
Yeah.
So the double standard, I just think that we just nailed it right there. I think you helped us a lot in answering the fact
I just
that
think that's real, because I'm a dude and I'm real.
And I appreciate your realness in that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I
I just
absolutely
think
do
you have to
appreciate
look at
that.
it for what it is. If you put them in a room together and you gave him the opportunity,
It's gonna happen.
you've been around enough men. I've been around enough men. He's gonna do it.
If you take a dude,
Whether you know what I mean, whether he played that card, whether however sneaky he was, that's how guys look at it.
yeah,
That's really how we look
Okay.
at it.
do.
yeah. I guess we just have different thoughts about it, but
Because
but
I think intent, especially with attractive women, intent with men can be miscued pretty
Sure.
heavily,
Mm-hmm.
and we understand that.
especially if you are outgoing
That's why I
and
don't
you're
have
friendly,
girlfriends.
and
Yeah.
so it's
Friends that are girls,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
a lot of them misinterpret things as well. Like, even on my side, like if I'm nice to a girl, a lot of times they're like, oh, he wants to date me or he wants to hang out with me. No, I'm just being nice to you. I think you're great. I'd like to be a mentor. If you have questions, I'd love to answer your questions. Then, I get the same feeling that when I talk to girls who are like, yeah, this guy just won't leave me alone, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I totally get that, because on the other side of the spectrum, people misinterpret me being kind as wanting to
Being
have
interested.
something more as a friendship. And I think on the male side, we also have to be a little bit more observant when it comes to those types of behaviors, because I do know a lot of girls who are very attractive who would try to weasel their way into my life, and they've tried to, essentially it's more or less like, I'm going to try to bang this guy to get back at that guy. You know what I'm saying? And usually it's totally different. Guys just want to bang. Usually when I meet a girl and she's trying to sleep with me, 90% of the time it's to make somebody else jealous, and it's trying to ruin somebody else's life for some reason or another. That's literally how it is. It's more of a vindictive type of thing versus a primal instinct, if that makes sense. Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, yes, the overall intention is the exact same. It's just the way you go about it and the way you interpret it and the way that I guess it's enacted. Does that make sense? Do I make sense? I don't know. That's how I feel, at least.
Yeah.
That's the way I view it.
I think we'll never agree on that.
Yeah.
No,
I
which is
think,
fine. I mean,
actually,
it's just,
I feel like they all just agreed. I really feel like we.
I just think that's my experience. I literally 90% of the women who outright will tell me they want to sleep with me, they are coming off of a fresh relationship.
people tell you that. I just want to sleep with you. God,
Yeah.
I am so sheltered. I need to amp up my
No.
game.
Well, they don't say, hey, come over, I want to sleep with you. They're like, hey, it's 1:30, I'm drunk and I'm in my panties. Here's a picture on Snapchat. Come fuck me. That's literally what it is. So they
Wow.
don't say, hey, I want to sleep with you. That's literally the way it goes. And I'm thinking, okay.
I have no game.
I'm thinking,
I
how?
have no game.
No.
Well, that's not game. At 1:30 in the morning, I'm working. I don't have anything else to do. But I don't really want to go over and like sleep with some girl that
who is this
gonna
classy
cause
girl on
fucking drama.
Snapchat?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
I don't know
there's
if that's-
many of
is
them.
that normal?
They're fucking weird. No, it's crazy.
I actually hear that a lot. just
Really?
in
Yeah, you get dick
hearing
pics.
from
I get
clients,
girls who
but-
want to hang out with me to make their ex-boyfriend like jealous. That's literally what it is. Dick
Okay.
pics, chicks trying to sleep with me to just ruin their ex-boyfriends or whoever it is they want. They want to ruin somebody's fucking
I
life.
feel like anybody could do that though.
You're
Like
getting
guys could
dick
do that
pics.
too.
Sure,
Guys
they
could be
do.
like, I'm pissed off at my girlfriend, so
Sure.
you know
Yeah.
it goes.
But does
probably
that
both
happen
ways.
to you?
But
It happens to me. That's what I'm saying. This is my
Okay.
experience. this isn't an opinion.
Yeah.
This is like
this
legit
is like
real life.
real
I
life
have-
Tim talk right
I'm
now.
talking like
Okay.
I'm talking like two Snapchats this last weekend. Same thing. No, I can't hang out with you
Okay,
because
so
I know your
let's
ex-boyfriend.
look at this then. As a therapist, I'm going to do some counseling on you for a second. Why do you think that happens to you? Like, what are your patterns, and why? I mean, does that happen to you, Conrad?
No,
he's
I'm not on
dating.
Snapchat either. So,
Oh.
and then I don't go out either, really.
But before your relationship, did
Tim's
that-
got a single. No, even before I've got my girls full time. Like I'm risk wise, I'm pretty low on the radar
you
because
are.
I'm just not in a.
Okay.
I don't put myself in those. But Tim's a young single guy, a couple years younger than me. He's out. You go to concerts and stuff.
Yeah.
You're just in more situations where you're around
more.
single people and
Yeah.
communicating with them.
He's also said he was on some dating sites, or you've tried that. Right?
I was, yeah,
You
not
were.
anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, that's like legit real life.
But when I was single
okay.
too, I think we talked about it before. Like, how do you explain this? Guys getting hit up on social media is way different, right? It's gonna be like, for me, it was once in a blue moon, and like by that, like I can't even recall how many times. Probably could count them all on one hand. Like on Facebook or Instagram,
Right,
where,
yeah.
and as to where you, I think, or any woman that's attractive, right? I wonder the psychology because they're just getting carpet bombed by guys.
Do you
Constant.
still get him even though you have your relationship? All that you post on that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's.
Yeah, and see, like, I'm not naive to it either. Like, I understand it, and then I also understand the cards that will be played by some. You know what I mean? Because it's
Yeah.
happened to me before. So the friend card's touchy, especially with dudes that have had, like, you know, that go back, have a guy play that role, and then have an affair. Right?
Yeah.
And then so that card from now on becomes one of those things that's really subjective on, you know, past, what the relationship really is, and stuff like that. So I think you got to kind of take all that into accordance.
Sure.
I definitely think it's slowed down since most people know that I'm in a relationship. But it's definitely still there, and I think that happens through unfortunately, through social media, it happens no matter what
Oh, yeah,
your
social
relationship
media
is. Like,
and
we
it's-
the devil.
we could be
Yeah.
married and
Yeah.
and have
Yeah.
that still pop up sometimes.
Yeah.
But
And it's disheartening in the dating world. Like, it really is. And not that I haven't sent DMs on Instagram or Facebook or said something stupid on a comment. I'm a dude sometimes, you know
yeah.
what I mean? But, like, to know that people on both sides are actively pursuing someone and using social media to do that, and it's constant,
Yeah.
it's a little scary.
Yeah,
Because
it
there's
is.
that many people out there that, if you really look at it, they're that unhappy in the relationship they're in, right? And so they're trying to find something that's greener grass, and really they just need to. There's probably something wrong with them, or they're in a
absolutely.
toxic relationship,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there's something wrong with them. But, like, so that those wars that go on in social media, if you're dating an attractive woman and you're naive to the fact that she's not, like, you can't, like, she's getting hit up, you just got to accept it.
Well, and you trust it, and that's where the whole trust thing. Do you remember I said,
Right.
You can trust that, yeah, she's hot, and you can love it, and you know that you don't have to worry about it.
And for me personally, and I'm a colorful dude, I always have been, but, like, the way I decide, and I even told her the way I'm going to handle it is I'm going to make sure I keep all my stuff squared away on my side, right?
Absolutely.
And then that
Yes.
way there's no resentments, and so if that happened, it wouldn't be because of it would be something else. But,
Right.
like, I think that's the only way you can really clean house, and same on my side. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, because you can't. I don't think I've been hit up once since I've gone public with her. I've had a couple curious questions, like,
Yeah.
maybe they were insinuating something, but, like, not like girls do. But I think, yes, you can't screen them, so you got to figure out, especially nowadays with social media, like, how do we make this work? If you're dating a dime piece like me, she's gorgeous. Of course, guys are gonna comment and like her stuff, but there's also the dudes that are straight up gonna DM her.
Yeah, and you just have to be secure in it and know.
Right.
And a lot of this is going to be good for Kelly, because if you are secure, and this is part of this toxic thing, if you're with a man who is secure in himself and confident and has a truth, you're fucking golden. If you were insecure, I just hate that. If you were any type of insecure, then, it wouldn't work, because she is beautiful. She's going to get hit on, even though she doesn't do anything wrong.
Right.
It would still make you crazy in the head.
Yeah, I think so. Acceptance, and then figuring out, like, all right, well, how do I make it work? And I
Right,
think it's
yeah.
just, I think
It's
and
trust.
we gave each other open phone policy. There's no
Yes,
locks on our phone.
yes.
Anytime audit, not that she'd ever do it or I'd ever do
But
it,
the
but
fact
you
that
know,
you can if
yeah.
you want to. Absolutely. I love that. I do. I think that's very important. And it's
Yeah, a free audit anytime,
yeah.
anywhere.
And again, that doesn't mean that she will, but the fact that she could is probably enough to not make her want to even have to do it,
Yeah.
or want to do it.
Well, yeah, I think that's been a big deal. And even we were talking about how somebody that he knew had sent me a message, or we remember you were saying somebody might message me to
oh yeah.
something like that, and I said, well, I'll check them, and like my others folder, because he wasn't a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And so I checked my others folders, and like right in front of him there's 3, and you can tell when they were sent and if I've read them or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, it's not there, and I don't pay attention to those.
Right.
Or like,
Yeah.
oh hey, you're gorgeous, is you can read the tagline in them, but
Yeah.
I like spaghetti. Like, me too. Have a good day.
I think it's just trusting, and it's being open, and it's being secure. If you're not secure, if you have insecurities, if you don't have trust, then move on and go find a place where you're going to feel that, because it's not fun for anybody.
Yeah. And, an unfortunate thing, too, when people go, just like that situation was going on. I've got a friend, they're going through a divorce. One of them not taking as well as the other one, kind of causing some. But, like, from the outside looking in, you're like, oh, man, that's horrible, all the chaos and the toxicity. But when you're in it, it's different. Yeah, it's like life ending sometimes. It feels like your whole world's just like...
And it is.
So
When you're-
avoiding those, I think, coming up with those flags in the beginning of a relationship, understanding yourself, I think, is a big thing.
And that's the huge thing. And that's what I said about I want these women to find their voice, like what Kelly said, their voice. Like knowing what it is. What am I? Who am I?
Yeah, when you realize someone, they were wrong for me. They didn't bring out the best in me. I didn't bring out the best in them.
And you don't know that until you're out of it, because at the time you feel like, you're not ever going to find someone like that, or you don't want to be alone, and so you just stay. And it's not. I mean, those are things that.
And you're just bashing your head against the wall. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's a cycle over and over, and then you don't understand why you're not happy, and you don't understand why things don't change.
Yeah,
well, they're not going to change.
Well, and another thing I think. Especially in relationships, you can kind of become codependent on happiness.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you really have to be self-centered in what makes me happy, what is my meditation during the day, and then that has to be something that you do in your relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I've even told you, I was like, I need to go to the gym sometimes, because that's like my little break, my little escape.
Yeah, a relationship's two different people in one, right? It's like you can't, you have to be different. You want to be different. You want to have strengths and different weaknesses. It's good.
So let's say someone's listening now, and they've started in a relationship, and maybe they had one or two bad nights of bad texts, or you texted this girl, nothing too serious, nothing too major. It's a sign of toxic, but they like each other. What steps do they need to take from here? They need to come see you?
No, well.
That's a good step.
It is a good step, I guess. But if you ever have any uncertainty, or if something just doesn't feel right, something's not right. And I think with me, I've never trusted my intuition or my gut feeling. I always just thought I was hungry. Just kidding. But I mean, women have this gut thing, right? And I've never used to follow it until recently. So if you have that gut feeling, there's something that's not right. So if you're having questions early on, I say just kind of reevaluate it and see, and probably not stay in that situation. Easier said than done.
Yeah, I agree with you there where you can trust your intuition, but I've been in a relationship before where he just did not trust me, and he kept telling me I just have this feeling, and I can't help but think that he had this feeling based on other people doing that to him.
That happens.
I absolutely wasn't doing anything to him. I was fully into him. Everyone else but him saw it, and I just can't get past this. I can't get past this. I think there's something wrong, and unfortunately, for those people who are dragging that through, like you can say all day you're just trusting your intuition, but you're trusting your intuition from a past relationship, and that was not me, and so I feel like there are those differences to where if you haven't taken the time to work on yourself and really fix yourself and heal those past hurts, your intuition really is shit.
You have to be able to trust yourself. Yeah. You honestly have to be able to trust yourself.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to being like grounded and really knowing yourself and your own faults.
Yes.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Because it's super easy, I think, even with like social media. Like, I had to sit down with myself and be like, all right, I've been burnt on here before, right? Like many. How do I go into the next relationship and not give them hell over it? Not an easy thing to overcome, but there's a step you got to take, and it's one of those things you got to learn about yourself. And for me, like self-inventory of my own mistakes and stuff like that kind of helped re-evolve my thought process in that. But I think, man, I really think self-coaching is important, or sitting across from someone that can self-coach you a little bit.
Oh yeah,
kind of like you could do.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to that.
It's like trying to see it from a different perspective.
Yeah,
right? A little bit of.
And I think it's easy too when you're going in this cycle. I even did it, and I'm not a negative guy at all. But like I would be like, oh, the dating game, it's a nightmare out there, joking around stuff. But like, you can't take if you want to be happy, and being in a relationship and love makes you happy. Like you got to keep. Instead of looking at those past failures as failures, look at them like, okay, what did I learn about myself?
It's teaching you something.
Yeah, I learned, I'm way insecure about this, or I'm this. So, like, I think it's important that you keep trying.
Yeah.
And you know, if you fail in a relationship, instead of looking at, okay, what did I learn? What did I take from that I can use to better myself?
Yes, I love it.
And not.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. That makes me so happy that you feel that way. Because not a lot of men do. You know, they fail, and then everybody else is blamed for it. And I hate to say that. And it's women, too. But you're pretty aware. That's really fucking cool.
Yeah,
Good
well,
for you.
I've hit bottom before, and
Yeah.
not just in relationships, but an
Yeah.
all-out humbleness, and like I've been
Yeah.
through like the recovery. You know, I've been sober over 3 years, but you do that. You have to do that in
Yeah.
order to grow in that self process.
Growing
and
is not
it's been
easy, yeah.
super beneficial to me, and even in sobriety, like I had moments
Mm-hmm.
like that where you got to fall back onto your base foundation of what you learned about yourself in
You have,
order
you have to remember.
to remind yourself,
Yeah.
all right, I'm good. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
check.
And sometimes it is good to remember the bad because you don't ever want to go back to that anymore. It's a lesson. you
Yeah.
know? It didn't feel good. It didn't give me anything. It didn't add anything to my life. Then why would you?
Well, and at the end of the day, too, we all want to be happy.
Yeah.
And like, I always think of myself, if I'm not making them happy, or they're not making me happy, or there's a relationship out there where that just isn't there anymore, you know, then that's one of those things. It's like, well, I want them to be happy because I want to be happy. So
Yeah.
like that growth of moving on sometimes is a tough pill to swallow, but one that can be swallowed.
It can be. Yep, it can be. Just learn.
Glad we didn't go too far off the deep end with the Snapchats.
I know that's another. Okay, another red flag. Yeah,
Snapchat.
Snapchat. Is a red flag. Just kidding.
Well, here's the thing. Snapchat's pretty. It's there's some dark magic going on that website, right?
Well, I mean, I already told you guys my experience,
Yeah.
and I get that.
And I
not,
don't think
not
that's
all the
her
time.
next point. So
No,
But-
no, go ahead.
No, Snapchat. Yeah, Snapchat's a red flag for sure. Especially, well, maybe not. I don't know. Some people use Snapchat with friends and stuff. I got into Snapchat kind of late, so for me, it wasn't like all about getting titties and sending dick pics. For me, it was more like business. Like, this is an opportunity for me to do business, because Snapchat got popular before I was divorced. So I kind of got into like the social media game a little late.
yeah.
If you're looking just for fun and not a committed relationship, then it's fine. You know, it's all fun and games and whatever. But if you're looking for something, more concrete, then it's probably not a good thing.
Your Snapchat name's Banana Lover? What? And the next toxic.
Jealousy. Sorry. So jealousy is another red flag. And I think a lot of it is, and it goes back to that feeling of, trusting yourself. But if someone makes you feel like you're not, if you have to do something different, or if you're going against like what your natural thought process is, does that make sense? Because they're jealous of something. So again, friends, jealous of my friends, jealous of that I play sports all the time, jealous that I don't know.
What you wear to work.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
what-
If someone is jealous, I think that's going to be a big red flag, because how are you supposed to be yourself? How are you supposed to be able to do things that you enjoy and make you happy? Like, what if you like to dress this way? What if it makes you feel good about yourself? What if, it's part of your life to play a co-ed sport? It's just the jealousy, I think, is a big red flag. And normally the jealousy is shown up front a lot of the times. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I think
It's hard
I
to
mean,
hide.
not right up front. I think they do hide it for a little bit. I think it starts to show a little bit, and it's a red flag, which a lot of us ignore. So I do think that it's something that appears, but it appears more and more as the relationship develops, and once they get a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
Now, do you
when
think
you see it?
people could use jealousy as kind of like I don't know, like I'm going to make him jealous, or I'm going to make her jealous, and they kind of use it as a tool, and it can be toxic in that way too.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because it works most of the time, don't you think? Like doing the jealousy thing, and then you want to come back or whatever. But, yeah, I don't know. Jealousy is a hard one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Lack of communication. So, and we talked about this earlier. If someone isn't able to communicate with you, that's hard. So if you have a problem that come up, which you're going to in any relationship, early, long term, whatever, if they're not able to communicate with you, express how they feel. I'm just mad, but they won't tell you why they're mad, or they won't tell you how you can fix it, or they won't try, they're just mad and they won't talk to you for a couple days. That's a red flag, I think.
So being able to open up about what actual emotions you're going through and how they're making you feel.
Absolutely. And I think that's another self-taught thing. you know. And we teach that in counseling. That's one of the things, like, I feel I feel sad, or I feel really angry, you know, instead of like, you made me mad. It's like, this is how I feel. And I think that's more effective to say that you feel that way, instead of like, you made me feel that way. And that's kind of hard, because then again, you have to admit your faults.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think it's more relatable too when you explain it.
Mm-hmm. So the communication's huge. And I mean, if you're always going to need communication no matter what. Even if you've been married 25 years, communication needs to be solid. And it's a work in progress. I mean, you get two people that barely know each other. You're going to have to like teach each other how you do that. Teach each other what works.
Right.
Teach each other what doesn't work. You know,
Yeah, know, you know, how to not be an a-hole. Certain things. That,
yeah. Or know what like hurts their feelings and what doesn't hurt their feelings, or what even triggers. What if they have triggers? You know, your phone can be a trigger for somebody that was like cheated on. You know, that's communication. Well, I'm not really comfortable with your phone doing that. However, you just have to be able to.
Why is it always going off in the middle of the night?
Why is it flipped upside down? Just kidding.
All right.
And then the insecure part, I think, is one of the big ones. We've talked about that a little bit. But if someone's insecure, it will never work.
Right.
And it's so hard, because there's nothing that your partner can do for your insecurity. Even if you give each other passwords, even if you go through phone records, whatever. I mean, if you're insecure, you're always going to be insecure, and that's, you know. That's
so you're talking like they're insecure on the level they're snooping and they're digging when there's nothing there. And you know, there's probably, I've had that happen. It's usually a sign, like you said, I think, like they've probably gone through something before, and then they're carrying that into the next relationship.
Right. Yeah. And you can really ruin some good stuff with that.
Yeah. I think that everyone, to a certain extent, have those insecurities, or there's certain things that make them insecure, but
humans are all insecure. Yep.
Right. But those relationships where you're fully in and the other person is just so insecure about everything, or maybe they don't feel worthy of your relationship, or you, or, you know, maybe they're just like, I'm not sure how I even got this girl or this guy, and that's where I think that it really can go south. Because no matter how much you try and feed them all the love they need, or all the reassurance that they need, it's never gonna click.
And who likes
them
to do that? Who wants to always be reassuring constantly over and over? I mean, I know that's probably a good thing, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to always be like, oh, you know, and I won't ever do that again. I was in something like that, and it's stupid.
Yeah.
You know? So what do you think about two insecure people being together? You think that works?
Probably not. And insecurity, I think you got to define it at a level of, I think
it's pretty general. Being insecure could be you don't like the zits on your shoulders, or you might not like the mole on your quad, you know, or you might not like your birthmark. You can be insecure about anything.
I think everyone has a base level of human insecurities as far as looks, stuff, you know, and so I think like you're saying, if you took two people that have to be rifling through each other's phones, or they have to be like, she's in the bathroom, I'm gonna go check her Instagram real quick because I know her passcode.
Yes.
If they're both at that level right out of the gate, that's a bad sign, right?
So, that's so exhausting too. Wouldn't that be exhausting? I always be thinking about
train wreck.
Yeah. So then you get an insecure man, and then you get a woman who's confident and secure in herself, right? That knows like, and I'm not a cheater. I know what I'm doing. I know I have values and have morals and everything. And that's even hard. You know, we've talked about that a little bit with that past relationship that you had, and it's just too bad. It's sad, and that's why I think it's important to work on yourself, because you could be missing out.
But I think we'd be naive to think that insecurities today won't come up, because
they will.
And they should. In any new relationship.
But handle your shit.
But identifying the insecurities, communicating about them, stuff like that.
Yeah, like be aware. I mean, if everybody has insecurities, like you said, but be proactive towards them. Figure them out. Why am I feeling insecure? What is going on, or what is this other person doing that's making me feel this way? And then figure it out.
Well, something to add on to what you just said, and because I know, for instance, some people live in a bigger world, like a bigger circle. They have maybe more if it's a female like myself, you have more guy friends, or you know more men, or maybe your job requires you to sometimes talk to men or have lunches with men. You know, I've been told that dating me is like dating a call girl, because they don't know where I'm going to be half the time, or I'm, you know, sometimes I'm in the salon, sometimes I'm at sushi with a client or whatever, and and that's pretty rare. So I was super obviously offended by that comment, but I can tell you that I have like in sometimes let that get to me. Yeah, like
it's
am I really is dating me really that bad? Like being with me is really that hard. It's that hard to understand that I could just want to be with you.
How do you feel right now?
And
like you're in a different situation.
No, I mean, I do. I feel like you trust me.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun
We
together.
have a lot of trust there.
Yeah.
But in these situations where people would be questioning themselves and wondering what could I be doing wrong, and something that stuck with me is a good friend of mine, Jake, who you know is one of my best friends. He had talked to a person that I was dating prior and said, you know, one thing you have to know about Kelly is that she doesn't know a stranger. And she, you know, she loves every server that comes to the table. She's going to probably know them by name before they leave. And that's something that I love about her, or that he loved about me. And he said, but the one thing that I can tell you that I know about her over all the years that I've watched her through dating or not dating is that you'd never have to worry about her cheating on you. And that meant something to me, because like a good friend who can see you, who goes out with me in my like craziest nights, like seeing me more drunk than I'm proud to be, and can say that I'm not that person.
But you're still a good person that can be trusted. Yeah.
But the person that in the situation I was with didn't see that in me. So I think that has to be their own insecurities.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's where I was going with this. It's not that
yeah, from the outside looking in, it would be easy to look at your lifestyle and go, oh yeah, but like to know you.
But to actually know me and know my day to day, and know that I'm at home with my children every night, and I'm very, you know what I mean? To actually know me is a different thing. To see me, like maybe you ran into me and I was, you know, getting jiggy with it on the dance floor. Like there's differences. Like certain people can handle it and certain people can't. And I think that comes down to their personal insecurities and not because of the fact that I'm actually a very trustworthy, honest person, and that I have no desire to date two men at once or to, you know, cheat on someone. Yeah. So I think that the insecurity thing is a really, really big thing. And if you're in a relationship where that person is so insecure, you can't fix them. And that's just what I would stress, is that I tried that for so long, and it's not your job to fix. They have to work on that themselves. And it doesn't matter how good you are or, you know, how trustworthy you are. That's something that they have to fix with themselves, if you ask me.
No, and I agree with you with that. And I also think I can add to that too, is don't try to change yourself in order to fit in their mold either. You know, just because you are social, just because you have friends, and it makes someone else insecure, don't change yourself for that. Be who you are, and that's
and that kind of worked out in our benefit.
Yeah,
because we're both. Hey.
we're both what?
Hey.
We're both ridiculous.
We're a little flamboyant, yeah.
You
guys got your own podcast, for God's sakes, yeah.
We're both like,
a little in your face about it.
No, but you're having fun, would you have that fun with each other if you didn't have the trust that you had? Honestly,
probably not.
No.
And so it all it's a circle. Like if you have these things, if you work on these things, then you're gonna the end prize is gonna be happiness and joy and fun and podcasts.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. How did we figure that out? Because you've been cheated on and hurt and obviously I've been.
Mm-hmm.
I think
that
just the time in my life, I'm a different person than I was a few years ago. I went through that. You kind of know all that stuff I went through with my downfall, my comeback. That's all real humbling stuff. And when it's public, or public in the sense like all your peers know about it, you lose friends, you go through this devaluing process, and naturally as a human you start to devalue yourself.
It's like a detox, right?
Yeah. And you basically get down to the core of like, okay, this is not me, right? That person really isn't me. And then you start to rebuild. And in that rebuilding you find the confidence to be okay with yourself. It doesn't mean that everything that happens outside of you you're cool with, you're not insecure about. You just know at the end of the day you'll be able to sit down and be okay with yourself
handle it different.
and your own actions. And that's a big one for me. How do I correct some of the mistakes I used to make in my life? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for me, by the time I'd met you, I think we'd said it. She knew a lot about me before we even met. And we had pretty long conversations on Instagram about stuff like this.
Yeah.
Communicating our past. And part of the reason we started throwing those rocks at the glass real early is because I thought it was important for her to know my thought process and who I am. But like, I guess just to answer your question, it was the time in my life, the growth. I'm not so insecure about it because that's not you. You didn't do that to me, and that was a different situation. It was a different time in my life. And so to me, it's not relevant. And until you would make it relevant, I couldn't hold it against you. And to do that, I'm hurting myself. I'm devaluing myself by doing that. Because I'm not, if that makes sense.
I hope every guy in the world can listen to this podcast and listen to what you just said. I'm not even kidding. That's pretty cool stuff.
Thank you.
Good for you. That's hard. It's hard stuff. I think you just got him at his prime.
Well, and we know a lot of the same people.
We do.
And I know that we've talked about this a lot, that we probably have people following us and watching, just waiting for us to fail. And
of course.
And
haters.
just, yeah. And we absolutely do. And we're not naive to know that. But it's so funny almost to us, because when it's just him and I and we're having a good time, and there's nothing else that matters. And there's not I mean, we were just in Sun Valley, and I know that a couple times, if I got up to take a shower or whatever, our phones were out.
Yeah.
And there's no lock on them, and neither of us took our phones into the bathroom.
Yeah, our kids have our phones back and forth.
Exactly.
Too.
His daughters use my phone all the time, and there could really be no secrets.
Well, and why? Why would you want them? Why would you want to risk what you have? It's not worth it. I mean,
yeah, and I think
what's the purpose?
The cool thing is for anyone listening that's been in a rut or in a bad spot or in a breakup, or think that you're in a relationship and I can't get out of it, because you're clinging on to that codependency of nothing, really. There's no foundation there. You're just clinging on to your own insecurities. You're devaluing yourself. If you can get past that, and to meet someone like Kelly, who I have a blast with, and not only that, we have chemistry. She's obviously very gorgeous. It should give other people listening hope that
absolutely.
Because I'm a dickhead. You know what I mean? If you caught me having coffee with the fellas 3 weeks before I met her, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm never getting married again. I'm never doing this. And I'd be
then it just hits
shooting
you.
the dice with the fellas, right?
Yeah.
We're all strong, tough heroes. And then she comes waltzing by.
Makes you weak to your knees, you fall, and then here you go. Yeah.
And here goes the boy band.
And I think
flowers.
that's a good thing that's a good point to bring up if you are listening and you're in a relationship like that, or you just broke up with someone, or you just are feeling lonely or whatever. Just imagine what you can have. Just imagine everything that you want in something, the type of relationship that you want. Just imagine finding that.
And being that.
And being
first.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Being that and not
it's possible.
And knowing that you can't attract what you're hoping to find if you can't offer that.
Absolutely.
Back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm big on chasing your dreams and never holding so I was telling her, like, you want to be a country music singer? I'll be your roadie. I don't give a fart. Well, I won't say the F-bomb in case her mom's listening.
Thank you.
I've been saying it, sorry.
No. He's trying to cut it down for my mom.
Okay.
Trying to clean it up.
Sorry.
13 years
you're
in the
fine.
military, and so, like, that's all you hear. That's how guys communicate. Like, every other word is... Anyway, what were we talking about?
I don't know. I just laughed because you're talking about dream, like, your board, and, like, my name is on his board.
His
Oh, yeah.
vision board?
My Instagram name is on his vision board, and he erases everything except my name every week.
Maybe you motivate him. Maybe you.
That's what she. How
Makes
do
you
you
better.
describe this in
You
a
want
non-weird
to.
way?
Yeah.
Like we were talking. I did a little research, found out what a grade A mom she was and stuff like that, and so I threw her name on my board. And it wasn't like it's just.
It's a positive
It's a
aspect.
positive.
Yes.
It's a positive to meet her and have it all happen, and
Yeah. But isn't that
is-
what it's like, though? Isn't it, like, good to... You have daughters. Isn't
Right.
it good to, like, bring something and add it to your life than having to, like, fight for something making things worse for you?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You always want to add. You always want to add. You never want to take away. So if something's ever taken away from you, then that's when you need to go.
Yeah, and see, there was a time in my life, and I can honestly say this, like, if Kelly would have come to me and I was 28
Right.
and in a different situation and we were together and she goes, this guy just offered me a demo down in Nashville and I'm going to get all this blah, 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 blah. And you see that she's just going to be super famous. Like, I probably would have buckled up like a little bitch. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
What
And
about me?
Now you want her to grow.
'Cause
You
you're
want her
so
to succeed.
insecure with yourself.
Yep.
But now I'd be like, cool, maybe you can introduce me to some people I want to talk to.
I think I heard this quote one time, and it said, "A strong woman is a man's most powerful weapon."
Yeah, it really is.
Honestly, like, because what a strong woman or independent woman can add to you. I mean, you guys, and if you're that same way, secure and all those things, can you imagine what you can do in this lifetime?
I already know what we're going to do.
It is, you can, like, freaking rule this world. And I think that's why it's important to date on your level. I will never date an insecure man again. I won't, because I'm too, I have too much in me that I don't want to ever do that. I want someone on my level. I want someone driven like me. I want someone.
Well, and how exhausting is it to put all of your energy and love into somebody who's never going to really feel it at your level?
Yeah.
And you can't pull them up.
No, and I've
It's
worked too hard to
impossible.
have what I have, that I need someone to, like, match me.
Yeah.
And so no
And you-
downgrading anymore.
No. You deserve that, and you will find it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, they should be adding value and adding to your...
And that's what I try to tell these women too when we're in these focus groups. It's like, you already have your life, you already have all these things. Like, you want to add to that.
Right.
You know? When you have nothing, when you're rock bottom, you don't want anybody to take anything else from you. Does that kind of make sense? So it's about finding your value. It's about finding someone that can value you, that knows your flaws, that won't judge you, that'll make you feel secure. At the end of the day, it's security and it's safety, feeling safe. When you feel safe, you can do anything. Be a Nashville singer.
And sweets. Girls like sweets, fellas. I'm just saying. I got a house full of girls, and if you come home with sweets, you're good to go.
It's so true. And tell us we're
Or
pretty.
Yeah.
hot Cheetos.
Yeah, no kidding. Flying
French
hot
fries.
Cheetos. You look gorgeous
Mc-
today, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Took your advice.
Yes.
Oh, man. What else? Do we have anything else we need to cover over there?
I think the whole thing, I guess, is the most important thing is, and talking to Conrad too, is just the self-growth is so important. So never give up hope and never think that you're not ever worthy of things, and never depend on someone else for your happiness. You need to, and before you start dating again, if you were in a toxic relationship, make sure you're healthy, make sure you do the work, and you will be so much happier. And it'll be less work for you to, like, proceed. You want easy. You want things easy.
Yeah, and I think honesty and self-reflection, too. A lot of us, even myself, I'll catch myself sugarcoating what I did during the day because it doesn't fit the narrative of who I think I want to be.
Yes.
Right? And I think
Yes.
with resentments and mistakes and stuff like that, or when you look back, I was in a toxic relationship. You hear this. They were crazy. He was crazy.
What did
They were
you?
probably both crazy at one
Yeah.
point, and just, like, but look back, reflect, grow.
You be, and like what Kelly said, you be someone who you want someone to be to you.
Yeah, usually
That's important.
I wouldn't date anybody if they're talking shit about anybody anyways. If they're going to talk shit about their ex, then typically their ex is probably the one who's right? So that's a red flag right off the bat. Usually when I talk to a girl or I'm on a date with a girl and she brings up somebody in a negative way, I'm like, well, I know who she is. She's talking about somebody negatively. I don't know that person, so she's trying to influence my opinion on somebody I don't know. So this girl does not get a second date because I know that if I were to hang out with her a second time and she didn't like it, she'd talk shit about me on somebody else. This guy put ketchup on his steak. Fuck that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like that's somebody not that petty, but that's an individual who won't hesitate to try to uplift themselves because they are the ones, again, insecurity, right? Obviously, somebody who's going to talk shit about somebody else, they're insecure about something that offended them about the other individual. So that is, in my opinion, that is the number one red flag. The moment I hear somebody talk shit about somebody, sorry, dude, I know who you are because I don't waste my time on focusing on negative energy. I don't focus on shit that I don't like. I focus on things that are going to make me better. And when you bring that into my life, get the fuck out of my life. I don't deal with that. That doesn't make me a better person. That doesn't make you a better person. And that doesn't bring any positivity to that conversation whatsoever. What it does is it shuts it down and it forces me to have a closed opinion, which is going to be negative about that individual. And I won't even try to get to know them anymore. But if somebody were to ask me about that person, I will tell them exactly how it was. I went to dinner with them. They talked a lot of shit about their ex-boyfriend, or they talked a lot of shit about somebody, and that's how it went. So do you want that negativity in your life? Because that's going to be pulled off of you. That's exactly. Even if you're the greatest boyfriend in the world, that's somebody who's going to talk shit about you because they are the ones who failed and they're insecure about that. So anybody who does that, for me, that's one of the biggest problems I have.
True story.
Yeah.
Right? Recently in my life, had a person I communicated with daily, and it was a daily train wreck. Every day was bad. There was always something, and I realized I'm taking this in. I'm taking their energy in.
You absorb that.
Yeah, and I quit talking to them.
I believe that.
I just avoided it.
Yeah.
You need to be careful who you give your energy to.
It's a selfish thing to do, but sometimes
it isn't, though.
It isn't, right?
No.
Sometimes
I
it
think,
isn't.
Yeah, and I think being able to walk away from something, being able to say, I don't want it, I don't like it.
Yeah.
You know,
too many people to date. Too many people who are positive.
Yeah.
We're at the age where there's so many people out there. We have so many opportunities to meet people, whether it's socially. Facebook, you can be interested and you could be going to literally any activity that they have posted. There are tens of thousands of people here who are single in Boise, and so for me to find somebody who can attract me and they value my attention and they're able to appreciate whatever it is that I can add as far as value to their life.
And challenge you.
Right off the bat, right? And make you a better person.
Yes.
That's a big thing, too.
And when they bring in that negativity or they have to bring in something negative about a previous relationship, I don't fucking care. I don't care if the guy treated you like shit. Guess what? You're not with that guy.
Right. That's the past.
And,
that's the past.
And
well, and you're not saying as you move on, learning more about each other, like you should learn what happened in that. You're talking about getting to know somebody, first opinion.
When you
first
date, when you sit, and
this is like a first, second date kind of a thing.
And those first, second dates, those are vital because you can find a lot about, if you pay attention and you're mindful about it, you can find out a lot about someone.
She's 5 minutes late. Sits down, Tina, Becky. She's such a bitch. Like, oh.
I like to.
Check,
this is probably not fair, but I like to do little tests to try to see if I can get crazy to come out. Sometimes it works, and I'm like, yeah.
What are these?
What do you
tests?
do?
So if you sit down with someone and you start talking, and then you can just say, talking about your ex, like, so do you have any contact with your ex? You just bring it up. And then they'll say something. And then if they start bad talking, then and then you kind of feed into it a little bit. And if it gets worse, then it full on is a shit show. I will do that sometimes just to kind of see. I don't want baggage. I don't want an ex with baggage. I don't want that. So I'm like, okay, check. Yeah. Sometimes I will see if they lie. So I'll test, I'll get something that I know and I'll say something. And then if they agree or if they disagree, if it's a lie, if they lie, peace out. It's probably not fair,
fellas,
but
what's
she's
not fair
doing
is
her
they're lying to
research
you.
before
That's
you
not
go on
fair.
the date.
it isn't fair. But
Yeah.
you know what? I don't want to waste my fucking time. Like,
It
sorry.
isn't
I'm just
fair.
like,
How is
yeah.
that not fair? Just
No,
don't
I'm
lie.
saying what I'm saying is it's not fair to you if they lied to you. It may not be fair
Right.
that you cut them off. Like that to me is fair. What's not fair is that they're lying to you. That's what I was saying. I was trying to
Okay.
agree with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I kind of jumped in like on the latter half of that
Like,
statement.
but just don't lie. Be
Yeah.
a good person.
Yes, yeah.
Be a good
Yeah.
human. You'll get a second date.
Oh, and
Yeah.
here's what we do know: guys will lie.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah.
girls will lie too, dude.
You were a Navy SEAL. I don't know how many guys I've met in the Special Forces out on the town when I was younger, man.
Really?
Like, oh, really? Oh, it's a huge problem.
Okay, so you know
There's
you're
a
going to find out if
There's a
it's...
television show about it. There's so many guys faking being like Special Forces guys.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Well, I mean...
He's one of the guys I'm trying to contact for my nonprofit, Don Shipley.
Oh.
What were you saying just now?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh.
We have lost control.
We have
Toxic
We
relationship.
have.
No, I think it's just, you know, again, just try to, you know, pay attention and realize what it is that you want. And if you don't get that, then don't waste your time and move on. You don't owe anybody anything. That may sound kind of bitchy, but you really don't.
Yeah. So, yeah, there won't be a day that goes by. Kelly's not going to be like, do you want to do music videos and make an asshole of yourself? And I'll go,
Sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's do
You love it.
that. I know.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You guys are good at it, too. Keep them coming. I like them.
I'm like, what do you want to do today? He's like, make videos.
It's good.
Want to dance like idiots?
It's good.
Oh, man.
Do you guys have any questions that you want me to answer about toxic relationships from a counselor's perspective, or do you have any?
I feel like you answered a lot of my questions, but I'm trying to think of as a listener's perspective.
We could get some, if you want to email the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Then next time you come back on,
Absolutely,
we
yeah.
can hit up the questions.
Yes.
And if no one emails, then I've got to make them up. They're not going to be that good. Stacy's going
Make
to
sure
see
you
right
email.
through it.
No. If you have, I mean, if anybody has any questions about how to get out of a toxic relationship, because I know sometimes that's scary, and you know, if you don't have a place to go, I can offer resources too. So you can email the show, and I can try to help you with resources. I will help you with resources. I will help you.
And honestly, I think a lot of people know they're in a toxic relationship,
Yeah.
and they're just so afraid to make that jump to get out of it. And you just feel like that's it for you. Like, where are you going to go from here? This person is, you know, everything. And
Yeah.
it's just not the case if you're in that relationship and you're in that around that toxicness every day. That's not your person.
I think you become immune to it too. Sometimes you don't even realize that's going on. So that's why it's important to realize it up front, so you're not stuck in it and it doesn't get worse.
Right. Yeah.
No negative Nancy's.
No negative Nancy's. Nope.
So this weekend with my mom and her friends, my mom's 60th birthday was, well, it's actually this next weekend, but we're going to be in Spokane?
Spoke-Compton.
We're going to be in Spoke-Compton. So we did it a little bit earlier for other reasons, but, and I was showing them some of our videos and things that we do, things that aren't really even published, you know, just day to day with Kelly and Conrad. It's weird. It gets weird.
But is it fun?
It's so fun. Yeah.
Life is
It's
fun.
so fun.
Yeah.
We like sometimes we can't even remember why we laughed so hard. We were at a super fancy restaurant in Sun Valley. We couldn't even read the menu. We're like, what's this word? And then we're laughing because we don't know. We just don't know. I'm like, I think that's a vegetable. I don't know. But
I'm like, steak potato. What the
and then-
hell is that, Kelly?
no, and then he wanted ice cream for
I got
dessert,
steak and beans.
and there wasn't ice cream on the menu, and I said we should get creme brulee. And I told him, I'm like, you know, he's like, what's creme brulee? Is it ice cream? I'm like, no, it's not ice cream, but they like torch it,
It's
they light it
heaven.
on
It's
fire, and
heaven.
it's like,
Yeah, and I've had it
and
before, but I just couldn't.
Okay,
I'm a
but
hillbilly. Sorry.
honey, they brought it to the table, and he was just like, when do they light it on fire? I'm like, well, they already did. It's like already been torched.
They did the magic
He's like been
before.
waiting for it to like combust into like a flame. But anyways, we have a ton of fun together. And I was telling them and showing them some of our videos and stuff. And one of my mom's good friends was like, how do you get him to want to be silly with you? And I was like, first of all, he's silly on his own. But she goes, I'm just always trying to get my husband to be silly with me. And he'll never be silly with me. I'm like, yeah. And I've been in those relationships, and I've been that one that's like ridiculous without having that returned. And that doesn't work. It really doesn't. No. So I can't really say
Yeah, when you're stealing donuts at Walmart by yourself, and then she acts like you weren't with her when the cops come, it's a real pain in the ass.
Yeah, that's not a partnership.
We
right there.
don't steal things.
No, of course, because you would get caught with me.
No, I would not.
Prior.
I just wouldn't do it. I would, honestly, if you were stealing donuts, I would point you out. I'd probably record it, and I'd be like, thief, donut thief. I'd record
and then
it,
she'd bail you out of jail.
And then I'd tell an elusive story of seduction to the police. It would be elaborate.
She brainwashed me. It'd be like a whole thing. It's weird. It gets weird a lot.
Speaking of it's getting weird, I think this show has come to an end, folks. I want to thank you for listening to the Couples Cast by CK. Hey, quick shout out to Project Shot-a-thon. I was talking about it earlier, the nonprofit. Kelly's helped me out with it a little bit. If you could follow us on Instagram, working on getting to Joe Rogan's platform or Anderson Cooper with 60 Minutes. If you don't know what the Shot-a-thon project is, I'm the president of it. We're trying to save America's heroes and finally build this country a facility suitable for treating the different triggers that lead to suicide in our heroes, all 8 of them. And this facility will do that. Going to get corporate America to fund it, I believe. And I'm 100% confident we'll get it done and start saving America's heroes. But it's a good cause, and it affects the rest of the country, too. The data we'll be able to pull at this facility can literally change mental health and how we view it. So take a look into the Shot-a-thon project. It's Project Shot-a-thon on Instagram.
Yeah. If you know anybody who's been in the military or in any branch, or they active or non-active, then I don't know how you wouldn't follow this project.
Sure.
If you care about somebody who has been active or non-active.
Yeah, no secret. 36 Americans a day take their own lives. 22 of them heroes from our armed forces or active in our armed forces. So it affects your family lineage. If you look back, I'm sure you've had a service member in your family, or you might in the future. So it affects all America. So take a look. Yeah. Tim, thanks for producing today. Stacy, you were incredible as always. I got a lot of great information. Kelly, wonderful and so beautiful. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. No doubt, right? No doubt.
No doubt.
I love you.
Love you too.
Thanks for listening.
That's a wrap.
Thank you.